Thank you. I just want to give you a quick synopsis of what the quilters are and what we do. In early 2007, a few of us asked Arlene Banster Achterhoff if she would be willing to teach us to quilt. The first year was doing just that, learning how to sew a seam and piece pieces together so that they would lay properly. Cutting is a big part of quilting, and also seeing how the colors blend and go together. Then in early 2008, Anna Weirs was having some medical issues, and we decided that we would make our first healing and comfort quilt, giving it to her in March. Soon after, we heard that Clarence Boersma was beginning therapy for stomach cancer, and we knew he loved golf, so our theme for him was golfing. His quilt was proudly included with him in the casket when he passed away in 2009. Since then, our projects have been many and different. One year we helped the Gems make pillowcases, and another they made a bag for their work. We have made quilts for over 90 plus individuals. We made a quilt for the 50th, the 50th anniversary of the church, and we've made over 17 quilts for the women's shelter at Roseland. Also, we made 7 quilts for the Japanese people after a tsunami killed many after the earthquake. Those were being made by people from all over the world, so we decided we would add our little bit. When the triplets were born, we made one for each of them. Another project was making a quilt for our disabled members who live in different houses throughout the south suburbs. We decided since we were making them for our church members, we had to include all the members of the house. Sometimes there were 5 to 8 living in different houses. And we made it according to what they liked. Some were sports themes, some were Disney characters, and some were just hearts. The residents were so receptive to receiving these that they would make us tea, and it seemed like a party to them. With this project, we were so blessed over and over. We made 27 of those quilts. Also, we have made quilts for the Ronald McDonald House, for the Southside Pregnancy Center, and pillowcases for PASS. During the pandemic, we made over 100 masks for both Roseland and Rehoboth, and we made stockings for the military personnel. You can see from our display that we have asked several people to bring their quilts or family member quilts, and this is just 21 or 22 of them. We made that quilt that is hanging here with that person alone in mind. Sometimes this is easy, other times we have to do some digging. We pray that these quilts will be used for many years and that they get threadbare and worn. And we thank each person whose quilts represented here are letting us become a part of their healing and for letting God's church be a part of their lives. And now I would like all the quilters that are a part of this group to stand up. They're not all here, but there are several others. Thank you. Thank you.
Yet another example on an anniversary day of the character and nature of Hope Christian Reformed Church. Amen? Amen. You know, when we look back at the invitation of the anniversary committee to maybe have another one of these Prairie Hope companion things, I was shocked to figure out that we did this
Good evening, everyone. So first, if everyone could silence your cell phones, put it on some kind of silence. And the second thing is I have two apologies. The first is we tried and tried and tried to get Bradley Cooper and Lady Gaga to come again this year. They were here last time impersonating Dora and Dan Deep House, but that didn't work. The second one is that Ted is not here. So that means that those of you who have loud laughs will have to, yes, thank you, will have to make up for it. We've done all the sound checks for everyone except for our audience sound check. So if you could begin on the count of 3, we need applause and cheering. Ready? 1, 2, 3. It's a well-trained group, right, Skylar? We're good? We're good. Okay, now the laughter. I know you tried before, but let's try it again. On 3, 1, 2, 3. Good. All right, thank you. And this year, we really are going live, so everyone, hold on. We're going live in 3, 2, 1, go.
I hear that old piano from down the avenue. I smell the pine trees, I look around for you. Oh, my dear, sweet, sweet old someone, coming through that door. It's Sunday night, the band is playing, honey, who could ask for more? Hello and welcome to a Sunday night version of Prairie Hope Companion. Coming to you live from Hope Church here in downtown Oak Forest on 151st Street, your friendly neighborhood church in the little brown box and no big screens, where everyone is the praise team, and the home of Intinction with Distinction. Presented by American Public Media and produced by Prairie Hope Productions. With all your friends and familiar routines, Pastor Noir is here. The Hope News and Notes radio version, the sweet voices and heavenly music from members of the world-famous Hope Church Choir, the news from Oak Forest, and much, much more. Brought to you tonight by the Acolyte Academy, where lighting the way starts young. Enroll now for summer sessions, where you learn to light candles with a blowtorch. Especially designed for candles you're too short to reach. Also brought to you by Viagra for Pastors. When you want sermons to linger longer than 20 minutes, turn to Viagra for Pastors. It's the solution for short attention spans. As always, consult your physician if preaching lasts for more than 4 hours. And brought to you by Powder Milk Biscuits in the big blue box made from whole wheat that gives shy persons the strength to get up and do what needs to be done. And by B-Rapa Rhubarb Pie, rhubarb, the secret of the good life as we know it. And by Ketchup, full of natural mellowing agents, homegrown in Oak Forest Gardens. And our favorite returning sponsor, the Heidelberg Catechism. Let's hear it for the Heidelberg. Having doubts? We have the answers and the questions. And new this year, a sly way to split an entire denomination. Whoa, they're turning on me. The Heidelberger, the best burger in town. All right, let's get this show off the ground, move it along. Some kids have school tomorrow, from what I hear. By now, we're used to the fine musical and dramatic stylings of the Friesen family. We watched them grow up in front of our eyes right there in the front corner of the church. Usually late. Tonight we have only 2 of them, but they're good. They're good. Okay, boys, come on up. Tell us what you're up to.
Well, if you liked this song 5 years ago, make no assumptions, because in fine Friesen fashion, we rewrote it this afternoon.
Special for the 60th.
There you go.
We didn't start the fire. It was always burning since the world's been turning. We didn't start the fire. No, we didn't light it, so we'll try to write it. John Medema, Bud Prime, Bellinga, Pazrock's time, Lenter's years, Roger Weir's, Yuta Tianto, Roger Nelson, Aaron P., Elsa Betty, BBC, Hollander, and Quastini, to Michigan we go. We didn't start the fire. It was always burning since the world's been turning. We didn't start the fire. No, we didn't light it, so we'll try to write it. Worship music grew and grew, organ 1 and organ 2, Dora's keys and Lynn on flute put music off the page. Sometimes fiddle, drums, guitar, choir really raised the bar. There's no way we're the first people to make that joke. But we keep them where they are, they don't need a stage. While we have a lot of kids, send them to the parsonage. Oh, the group is way too big, we better expand. VBS and Sunday school, gents, cadets, and yeeps all rule. Somehow Glenn would keep his cool when class got out of hand. Sorry, Glenn. We didn't start the fire. It was always burning since the world's been turning. We didn't start the fire. No, we didn't light it, so we'll try to write it. Hope CRC since 63, the loud one in the family tree. Women in office made our case, hope to synod in your face. War and Peace as liturgy, deep house praise with poetry. Streams and podcasts now exist, but talk of screens is still dismissed. Coffee bought from trade that's free, though bulletins each cost a tree. Safe church is our new decree, but everybody still has a key. Yeeps and harps sit side by side, age and gender, no divide. Cubs and Sox fans in one space, we sing as one because of grace. Sing along if you know it. We didn't start the fire, it was always burning since the world was turning. We didn't start the fire. No, we didn't light it, so we'll try to write it. We didn't start the fire. It was always burning since the world's been turning. We didn't start the fire. No, we didn't light it, but we sing despite it.
Come on up, choir. Well, you just heard the choir never comes up to the front to sing. Well, never say never. We're blessed to have the hardworking Hope Choir with us tonight for their 4th number in a busy day. Led by the talented combo of David and Beverly Barr, fresh from their world tour and most recent stop in Kankakee, in their never-ending search for perfect pitch. They're singing for us tonight, A Garlic Blessing. A Gaelic blessing. That's it, Gaelic. Thank you, choir, and as you find a better place to sit for the rest of the show, we'll let our radio audience know that your choir robes are a bright magenta and gold lame, and Dave's director outfit is a classic combination of purple turtleneck and Austrian lederhosen. Our choir is best heard and not seen. Everyone knows that the big city is full of stories, but few people realize the suburbs have their share of angst, conflict, and mystery as well. And those suburbs that keep their secret, there is one man who is trying to make sense of it all. Pastor by day, private eye by night, Pastor Noir prowls the streets of Oak Forest, always ready to lend a hand to someone trying to figure out the path to justice and wisdom in a messy world. Our story opens late one night. Pastor Noir is working in his study when he hears a knock on the door.
Come in already. The door's open. Oh, it's you, Chief O'Malley.
Pastor Noir, I'm glad you're awake. We need to talk.
Don't tell me. I bet I already know. You've got a tough one. The entire Oak Forest and Homewood police departments are stumped, and you were hoping that I might be able to lend a hand.
That's a really good guess, Noir, but you're completely wrong.
Well, what's the deal then? Why are you here?
No reason, really. Just wanted to stop in late at night when you're usually sleeping, stare at you through the window for a while, and congratulate you on Hope's 30th anniversary, and thank you for solving all the cold cases here in Oak Forest. Oh, by the way, here's your mail. I picked it up when I was going through your mailbox.
Well, you're welcome, Chief. Solving these cases was easy compared to writing a sermon on the obscure lectionary text from Judges. Let's go grab a beer and reminisce about our adventures through the years. But first, let me look at the mail. Let's see, bills, junk, my latest issue of Pastors and Private Eyes, more junk mail. Hey, what's this?
What have you got there, Noir?
Yeah, it looks like an invitation. See, it's in one of those fancy envelopes. It's from People for the Enhancement and Enrichment of Exceptional Writing, PU. I wonder what they want.
Well, you're never going to find out unless you open it, Noir.
All right. Let's see here. Dear Pastor Noir, our society wishes to recognize you for the Beowulf Writing Award for higher abilities and heightened use of alliteration. We invite you to attend a banquet in your honor next Friday to be held on the terrace of the stately Hoffman Manor at 11:30 p.m.
Wow, what a willy, wonderful wish. Say, what's this alliteration stuff anyway?
Well, alliteration's when you use a string of words that start with the same letter sound for dramatic effect, but there's something strange about this invitation, Chief.
What do you mean, Noir?
Well, first of all, it only mentions me. It doesn't say I can bring a guest. That's out of the ordinary if the banquet's in my honor.
Yeah, you're right.
And then there's the fact that it's being held at the Hoffman Estate. It's a beautiful setting, but conveniently located, almost as if they wanted to get me far away from anyone who might be suspicious.
I'm beginning to get your meaning there, Noir.
Next, the fact that the banquet is being held at 11:30 at night. Isn't that a little suspicious to you?
Now that you mentioned it, it does seem mighty peculiar.
And finally, the initials of the award itself.
Now I'm not following you.
The award is called the Beowulf Writing Award for higher abilities and heightened use of alliteration. What does that acronym work out to be, Chief?
Well, let's see here. That would be BWAHAHUA.
Exactly. And how would you pronounce that as a single word, Chief?
Bwahaha. But I still don't get it, Noir.
Could it be, Chief? Is it possible What if this is not an invitation to a banquet at all? Is there another way to read this? Could it instead be that this is actually an invitation to a trap?
I never thought of it that way. I think you might be right, Noir. So what are you going to do?
You know, Chief, there's a line in one of the songs from singer, songwriter, philosopher, theologian Bruce Springsteen that says, some brimstone, baritone, anti-cyclone, rolling stone preacher from the east says dethrone the dictaphone, hit it in the funny bone, that's where they expect it least.
Right. That's a super famous line. Everybody knows that line. In fact, my wife stitched it in needlepoint into one of my pillowcases. But, Noir, how does it apply to this situation?
Simple, Chief. We need to do what they expect the least. This is a trap. I know it's a trap. They know I know it's a trap, so they won't be expecting me to walk right into it.
I don't know, Noir. It sounds dangerous. You better take a squad of my officers to back you up.
Now, we can't do that, Chief. It's just what they'll be expecting us to do.
Next Friday at 11:30 p.m., Pastor Noir walks out onto the terrace of the Hoffman Estate.
Hello, I'm...
Of course, Pastor Noir. We've been expecting you. Please come right this way.
I brought along some of my favorite alliterative sentences. I figured I could read them, kind of like an acceptance speech.
That was good of you, Pastor Noir, but I hardly think it is necessary.
Boy, this is a long hallway. Where are we headed?
Just a little further.
Say, maybe you can tell me, what sort of people are members of your society?
Oh, you know, English teachers mostly.
Bum, bum, bum!
Here we are, just through this door.
Hey, wait a minute. This room isn't set up for an awards assembly. You've got all the chairs set up in a circle. And you all go to my church. This looks more like a...
That's right, Pastor Noir. This isn't an award ceremony at all. It is an intervention. And there is no PU. We are actually members of the Radical Army to protest excessive abilities.
Rat pee?
All the good acronyms were already taken. Anyway, this is an intervention.
You people think I have a drinking problem?
If only it were something so innocuous. No, we're here to show you the damage you've caused in your congregation. Would someone bring in the witness?
Do I really have to go through with this? It's really embarrassing.
We've been through this before, Dennis. He has to see it. It is the only way he will know the damage he's doing. Pastor Noir, please have a seat.
Now, Pastor Noir, I want you to read what is written on this card and then take a good, hard look at Dennis Bremirski and how he reacts.
But this is a line from one of my recent sermons.
Yes. Now read it, and why don't you describe the reaction you see on Dennis's face as you read?
Well, I don't see the point, but okay. Let's see here. I've also learned that more often than not in Scripture, the movement of the Spirit, the missio Dei, the mission of God, the movement of the will of God is outward. It's strange. Dennis is grabbing his head like he's afraid he'll burst or something.
Yes, go on. Read on.
Is toward others, is expansive and inclusive.
Owie, 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 owie.
Well, clearly something I'm saying is causing them pain. What could it be?
Just stop reading.
Am I making some sort of obscure grammatical mistake?
Did you know that for the last 10 years, Dennis Bremirski has been writing a novel about a mild-mannered English teacher whose wife has quintuplets, and then he quits his job and becomes a judge on the Great British Baking Show?
No, I didn't know that. I guess I never asked.
Every time he comes to church, he leaves in a deep state of depression.
But why?
It just isn't fair.
What isn't fair?
You're a minister. You're supposed to be good at Bible stuff, not writing stuff. It isn't fair. You use parallel structure and poetic phrasing. I mean, in the face of all that, why should I even try to write an award-winning novel that will change the landscape of American literature forever?
Listen, Pastor Noir, this is pretty serious. After last week's sermon, War and Peace and Moses in northwestern Iowa, Jeff Carpenter had to be taken out of church in an ambulance.
Someone told me he passed out because of the air conditioning.
Oh, please. And you believe them?
Jeff Carpenter has been writing a 6,000-page trilogy that is a version of Crime and Punishment, only with more baseball. After your sermon that connected the first chapter of John with a discussion you had with a depressed lawyer in a bar, Jeff destroyed the manuscript.
I thought it was good. It was better than some of that stuff that Barbara Brown Taylor writes. But after I heard that sermon, I realized I could never be that good.
And Bill Borman Cornell has recently given up on his 10-volume graphic novel about the thematic overlap between wombats and Shakespeare.
I find myself wondering what the point is.
Okay, I get it. I had no idea you people were suffering. I had no idea it was this bad. I admit, it does seem bad. But
But what?
But could it be? Is it possible that there's a simpler way to solve this problem if we look at it from a different angle?
Is it possible?
I think it is. All my sermons are available in podcasts. Jeff, give me your phone. Now, if we go to settings and change this and this, there. Now, put on these earphones and listen to the quote from my sermon that we read before.
This is great. It's terrible. What did you do?
I set your phone to translate my sermon into Yiddish, then translate it into French, then Dutch, and finally back into English. Here, Dennis, hand me your phone. Go to Settings, Languages. There, should be all set. Now listen to that passage that sounded so wonderful before.
Knowledge has traveled to me that at erratic times the air flowing into words, the moving of the ghost breath, the task of the deity is the transportation away from the point centrality.
That's wonderful. It sounds like something that an insane freshman might write on their second day of class. I could put my earphones on when the sermon starts and no one will know. I'll be able to feel good about myself again. Thanks, Pastor Noir.
No problem. I'm glad I could help. And Jeff, I'm betting your computer saved that manuscript somewhere. Why don't you give it another try?
Thanks, Noir. I'll do that.
There are a million stories in the suburbs. Many of them involve artists just looking for a break as they try to understand the meaning of the universe. Pastor Noir is one man, trapped in a church with more than a chair of teachers and writers, doing his part to make the world a little less upsetting. Tune in next time for Pastor Noir in the case of the 60-year anniversary for a 61-year-old church. About 18 years ago, a couple transferred their membership from a larger Christian Reformed church in the area to Hope Christian Reformed Church. This event involved a time of deep reflection, and out of this process, the character Mr. Christian Reformed was born. How you doing? Okay, come on up. Mr. Christian Reformed has appeared many times at the Prairie Hope Companion. Tonight's appearance brings us back 18 years to the first of these unique presentations. Welcome, sir.
Honey, I need my speech. Give me my speech. Well, my name is Mr. Christian Reform. I was born in the Christian Reformed Church. My father was a Christian Reformed minister. My grandfather was a Christian Reformed minister. My mother probably could have been a Christian Reformed minister, except that wasn't done back then. You know, now anything goes. Well, anyway, some young fella asked me to say a few words about why we joined this church. You know, I asked myself the same question. We got here just in time for the capital campaign for the new building project. You know, we were at a pretty good church from before. I mean, it had screens and PowerPoint and everything. But the kids liked it. Yeah, like you see them here every Sunday. You know. So the wife made me come a few times, and you know, it was all right. I mean, that kid Nelson, he's a pretty good preacher, except he writes out his sermons, and he reads them from the pulpit. I remember the days when we had dominees who could take a text and talk about it for about 45 minutes with no notes or anything, you know. It was Kuyperian and Reformed and sphere sovereignty, you know, the works. Those were the days. Well, the old church was easier. You didn't have to do anything. Now you got this complicated bulletin with readings and a lot of getting up and down and songs from the New Gray Psalter hymnal. I like the old one better, the blue one, the one that had the normal words for Silent Night. Well, the first thing I noticed here at Hope was the collection, you know, the offering. There's a lot of women taking the offering. I get the whole women thing, you know. I realize things are changing. It's probably time that we had adjunct deacons. But do they have to take their purses when they do the offering? I mean, isn't it safe to leave your purse in the pew here? I mean, what kind of a place is this anyway? You know, and the other thing I saw about the offerings, about the collection, is it's two offerings, right? And they do it here at the same time, you know, one plate after another. Well, you gotta be ready, or you might miss that second plate. You know, when I was a deacon at that other place, well, this is how we did it. You know, you went to the front of the church, you got the baskets, you went, you did the first offering, you know, the organist is playing something, and then you take that first offering, you go in the deacon's room, you put that in a corner, then you come back to the front of the church, you take those offering plates, and then you do the second offering. She's still playing some stuff on the organ. Then you take that second offering, and you go and you put that in a different part of the deacon's room. You know, so that way the offerings are not messed up. You know, here, you know, some kid does this. You got $4,000 going for the minister's pension fund and $50 for the church budget then. Well, anyway, choir is pretty good. There's some pretty highbrow selections, you know, music people like myself appreciate that. You know, and then the other thing is no night service. I thought it was in the rules that you had to have an evening service. Well, you know what they say, oncers will become nuncers. Well, that's about it. Seems like a friendly bunch of folks around here. They've been really nice to us. You know, the wife's happy, that's the big thing. Honey, come up and get me down from here. Thanks a lot for everybody.
The next portion of the show tonight is brought to you by the Ketchup Advisory Board. Full of natural mellowing agents, ketchup from tomatoes homegrown in the best Oak Forest gardens. Now available in eco-friendly squeeze packs, just like at Culver's. Tonight's commercial also pays tribute to Gene Sinclair, longtime treasurer at Hope Church, who passed away recently and always will be remembered, in part for always remembering the special events in the lives of the members. And now, it's time for the commercial.
These are the good years for Barb and me. Christmas is around the corner. The kids are getting older. We're to the stage where we almost enjoy receiving the presents they give as much as they think we will. Barb and I were coming up with ideas for their presents too. Although Barb's ideas were a little extravagant. I had noticed that their sock drawers were running a little empty and was developing a pretty good list of my own. Then the doorbell rang.
Coming. Hello. Oh, these are for me? Why, thank you. Bye now. Oh. Oh, dear.
Who is that, Barb?
Flower delivery?
Oh, did he bring us something?
Yeah, he brought me flowers. Flowers from Jean.
Jean?
Jean? Jean Sinclair?
Oh, that's lovely.
No, it's not. I don't know what they're for.
Well, maybe she wanted to give a random act of kindness.
That's not it, Jim. Jean sends flowers for a reason. Oh, maybe I'm sick. Maybe I'm going to be sick. Maybe someone else is sick. Jim, is everyone in your family okay?
As far as I know. Now, let's not jump to conclusions. What does it say? Does it say, get well soon?
No, it just says, from Hope Church.
Well, that could be anything. Maybe it's congratulations. Maybe you won something.
No, that's not it. Oh, dear. Jim, maybe I'm pregnant.
What?
I said maybe I'm pregnant.
Yes, I heard you. Now, what makes you think that?
Well, Jean sends flowers for babies and things. Maybe this is congratulations on being pregnant.
Barb, you're not pregnant. And how would Jean know anyway?
Honey, you don't know Jean very well, do you?
I guess I don't.
I bet that's it. I'm pregnant. Honey, I'm pregnant.
Oh, dear. Barb, what are we going to do?
Now, Jim. We've done this before. We can do it again.
Barb, our kids are grown. We're 60.
And Adam and Sarah were 80. We can do this, Jim.
Our child will be 5 when we retire.
Jim,
Yes.
I wonder if you've been getting enough ketchup.
What?
Ketchup. It has natural mellowing agents that help you accept that babies are beautiful and will be wonderful parents. Now, what are we going to give the kids for Christmas?
How about blue socks with brown and black stripes? That way they can wear them with everything.
Fine. Make sure my name isn't on the tag. Do you think it would be okay to have another baby shower?
These are the good times, a season full of cheer, with bouncing babies' presents and other comforts near. Life is flowing like ketchup, not like tears. Ketchup, ketchup, ketchup.
As you know, every week here at Hope, we're treated to some of the world's greatest literature. We've come to know them as Hope News and Notes. Here to read the radio version just as they appeared in the bulletin today are our weekend correspondents, Dan Quist and Sally Larson.
Children in Worship and Adult Bible Study. Children in Worship next Sunday will consider the influence of neo-Orthodox theories of Christian existentialism in the development of liberation theology and Third World Catholicism, considering recent papal positions, and redefining ecumenism and ecofeminism. It's all in the box. The Adult Bible Study group will pretend to march around the walls of Jericho while singing When the Saints Go Marching In.
A unique opportunity. For the entire month of May, Pastor Raj will be at a table in the atrium after the service to autograph your family Bible. Please note, he will only sign the inside cover, not the page near your favorite Bible verse. You have several weeks to locate your family Bible.
Liturgists and prayers of the people. We're still looking for liturgists and members of the congregation to offer the prayers of the people. On a side note, next week Dan Deephouse will preface his prayer by reading the entire book of Leviticus, followed by a reading from the book of Uncommon Prayer.
Men's night out. Attention, Hope men. You are invited to our next outing, set for Saturday, May 19. The day will begin by rappelling down the Hancock Building, followed by running with the bulls through the streets of Oak Forest. Survivors will enjoy a supper of raw beef and raw onions in the atrium, a White Castle crave box for dessert, followed by a urine test of testosterone levels. Who says we can't show toxic masculinity around here?
Hope Trades Fair. Fair trade coffee and chocolate is now available in bulk. Feed your addiction with new 10, 20, and 30-pound blocks of chocolate. Or why not try Fair Trade roast coffee beans in 50-pound sacks? Or if you really like your coffee, we also sell it by the skid load. 600 glorious pounds of love buzz.
Hope has babies. Lots and lots of babies. Since last week, Hope has been blessed by 12 more babies. Reminder, couples should submit first, second, and third choices of names to the naming committee to avoid the great Sophie Bernadette conflict of 2016.
Hope goes to Adult Ed. Upcoming Adult Ed sessions will include guest speakers N.T. Wright, Jimmy Carter, Barbara Brown Taylor, Walter Brueggemann, Barack Obama, and in a special appearance, Bruce Springsteen will read from his recent autobiography. Next week, Dan Deephouse will be reading all of Wendell Berry's poetry with a southern drawl while wearing bib overalls and a straw hat.
Hope harps. Harp. Hope's arthritic retired people. No, wait. Harp. The Hope Association of Retired People meets this Saturday afternoon in Maggie Daly Park for their next adventure. We will be playing a roller derby match against a team from Willow Creek. Rental skates are available, but none with Velcro straps. Members of Owls and Romeos who do not normally attend Harp are also invited, but no food will be served. Suit up by 3 p.m. Next month, skydiving.
Hope family. This past Wednesday night, there was a lot of life at Hope. Participating in this raucous and delightful cacophony were the following. The cadets were learning elementary surgical techniques for hip and knee replacements. Thanks to the Harp group for volunteering to act as the patients. GEMS were planning the final details of their service project to Texas to negotiate a peaceful solution to the immigration problem. The Moms Group was meeting with the Building and Grounds Committee about the planned new birthing center. Hope musicians were rehearsing together in preparation for their combined concert with Andrea Bocelli. And the Creation Care Committee was installing the new wind turbine on the roof. Good examples of hope flourishing.
Council retreats. Council is already busy planning for next fall's council retreat. In addition to staying in the Franciscan monastery on Lincoln Avenue, they will take vows of chastity, poverty, celibacy, and sobriety, in that order and in phases.
Liturgical news. Plans for the big screen installation have been halted in view of Pastor Rogers' allergies to PowerPoint presentations and snappy hit videos.
More liturgical news. For those of you who received a worship folder this morning without pages 43 and 44, Sharon Artema has finished running off more copies. Just raise your hand.
Hope Harp, again. Look for a survey from HARP about possible future activities. As a reminder, options are Team Wordle, Trust Falls, zip lining, rappelling, liturgical square dancing, and CalSag kayaking. Well, that's this week's edition of News and Notes.
News from the pews, news you can trust.
That for some years now, Frances Borman Cannell has been giving music lessons to her father in an attempt to wean him from his obsession with graphic novels. Frances, like so many other talented teens and young adults here at Hope, has made a major contribution to the musical portions of worship here. Tonight we get to see whether her gifts come from her father or her mother. So as we wade into the gene pool, please welcome Frances and Bill.
I should say that although Frances has been playing for 13 years, she hasn't been playing fiddle music that whole time, and I just got this for Christmas, this banjo. I've had 10 lessons already, and my instructor, Phil, says I'm pretty much the best banjo student he's ever had. I mean, he sort of implied it more than he said it. It was sort of like he hinted at implying it, really. It was clear that he meant to hint at implying it eventually, is kind of more the situation. Anyway, we'd like to do a duel between a banjo and a fiddle. And so I'm going to start, and what I'll do is I'm going to play a pattern, and then you see if you can match it.
Okay, I am a little nervous. It's been a while since I played fiddle, so go easy on me, okay?
I think you should be nervous. Okay, ready? That was my easy one. So I have a much harder one here. Okay, you ready?
Mm-hmm. You have anything else?
I can do this.
Okay. I'll tell you what, since I've been able to play what you can play so far, how about I play something, you try to play along with it, okay?
Okay.
All right.
Okay. Is it
Just take a minute, listen to what it sounds like, and then kind of try to strum along, okay?
Thank you. Thank you.
How about we'll try something new. I'll play this one, and then I'll do something at the end, and I'll point at you, and then you play a D, okay?
I don't think you can point when you're playing. You better nod.
Okay, I'll nod, yeah.
A D.
All right, got it? Yeah, a D. Can you play D?
A D.
All right.
All right.
All right, you ready?
I am ready.
I'm going to go out on a limb here, folks. I think we promised to get you out of here at 7:30, right? You wouldn't mind a few minutes after 7:30, would you? No, not at all. Well, a couple of years ago, Helen Van Wyck had a great idea, and we'd like to try to give it another shot. We may be pushing our luck, but I'd like to invite all those who've had hip or knee replacement surgery up on stage for our joint replacement chorus line. Come on up. We're all on Medicare if something should go wrong. So come on up if you had that. Yeah, look, there's a brave man. There's another one. They're coming up. All right. Oh, yeah. All right, I'm going to join you, but you line up right here, okay? Okay, in order to do a chorus line, this is it? Sing along. Okay, so the song goes like this. Da, 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 da.
Yeah.
Okay, you guys. Start with the opposite leg as mine, okay?
Okay.
This one? This one. Thank you. We're all going to pay for it tomorrow. Prairie Hope Companion is brought to you by Powder Milk Biscuits. Now made from flour from wheat raised in community gardens in Chicago, Powder Milk Biscuits give shy people the courage to do remarkable things. Do you find yourself thinking of faking the flu so you won't have to face the prospect of 17 infants in nursery on Sunday? Are you terrified to unveil your new vegetarian guacamole chili recipe at the chili cook-off? Does the prospect of doing prayers of the people the Sunday after Dan Deephouse manages to weave 2 quotes from John Donne, a review of Guillermo del Toro's film Pan's Labyrinth, and most of a Gerard Manley Hopkins poem into his prayers of the people, does that fill you with dread? Well, Powder Milk Biscuits in the Big Blue Tin can give you the courage you need to conquer your fears and participate at Hope. Don't forget to ask for them by name. Powder Milk Biscuits in the Big Blue Box. Now, we have a couple mystery guests tonight. They're not on the program, but they just showed up recently, and I'd like you to all welcome our guest musicians. Here they are.
They say we're young and we don't know. We won't find out till we're grown.
Well, I don't know if all that's true, 'cause you got me, and baby, I've got you. Babe,
I got you, babe. I got you, babe. They say our love won't pay the rent before it's earned. Our money's all been spent.
I guess that's so. We don't have a pot, but at least I'm sure of all the things we got. Babe,
I got you, babe.
I got you, babe. Got flowers in the spring. I got you to wear my ring.
And when I'm sad, you're a clown. And if I get scared, you're always around. Don't let them say your hair's too long, 'cause I don't care. With you, I can't go wrong.
Then put your little hand in mine. There ain't no hill or mountain we can't climb. Babe, I got you, babe. I got you, babe. I got you to hold my hand.
I got you to understand.
I got you to walk with me.
I got you to talk with me.
I've got you to kiss goodnight.
I got you to hold me tight.
I got you, I won't let you go.
I got you to love me so. I got you, babe.
Talk about range. Well, Dan and Dora told me earlier that they'd like to stay for the curtain call, but after that, they felt like they needed to rush home. You have to let the cat out or something. Well, it's been a quiet week in Oak Forest, my hometown. Although there's been a lot of hoopla over at my church, the Hopeful Reformed Christian Church, a likable congregation that recently came out of a collective COVID quarantine of sorts, finding its footing again just in time to celebrate its 60th anniversary. As someone said about a wedding anniversary, a marriage anniversary, an anniversary is the celebration of love, trust, partnership, tolerance, and tenacity. The order varies for any given year. From what I know of this church, and I've been a member here for over 20 years, all those traits describe it pretty well, especially the tolerance and tenacity it took to make it through the COVID years. Our pastor over at Hopeful is both tolerant and tenacious. He's weathered a lot of storms, baptized and buried members in his tenure, and even recruits new members in the locker room of a neighborhood health club. A unique form of church growth and evangelism. Arvid Nelson is his name, and one of his recent sermons set the stage for the 60th anniversary. Something about the arc of the universe tilting toward kindness and justice. There were many of Nelson's sermons where the universe tilted. So much so that the church council was considering installing seatbelts for safety and serving Dramamine with intinction. They were good sermons, mind you, always memorable and helpful, and gave his congregation room to wrestle with their doubts, to wriggle a little bit, which is why the church council dropped the idea of seatbelts. Everyone has their doubts and should feel free to wriggle. Nelson's a fine pastor, a rare combination of wisdom and wit and an uncanny human touch. He loves what he's called to do and knows his people well, what makes them tick and what makes them ticked off. Looking forward to the anniversary celebration brought many of them to mind, especially the rogues gallery of idiosyncrasies and quirks, some delightful and some disturbing, yet members of this church, one and all. He recalled the avid gardener who trapped squirrels in gentle cages and spray painted their tails neon orange before he transported them to a distant forest preserve, only to have them return uninvited to a neighbor's yard. He remembered the aging grandfather who returned by plane from his last trip to his beloved homeland, Norway, with fresh salmon wrapped in newspaper around his girth and under his sweater and jacket. Then there was Sven Larson, who tried to teach his kids the danger of a burning Christmas tree by actually burning one in his backyard and almost setting the neighborhood on fire. His children never once lit a Christmas tree on fire, if truth be told. Or old man Boss, who at age 93 invited Jenny, who lived down the hall, to his apartment in the retirement home and proposed to her over bran muffins and candlelight. He'd snuck a bottle of wine in case she said yes, and she did. Nelson also found himself looking back, especially in this anniversary year, with thoughts of all the things he never learned in seminary about the life of a pastor. Some things you just can't be taught, and other things you just could never imagine. Nelson remembered the elders he'd met through the years, women and men who also had no idea what was in store for them. He remembered Hilda Woldman in particular. Although she and her husband had only been at Hopeful for 5 months, she was chosen as an elder. My church believes in sacrificing fresh meat on the altar of leadership. And Hilda was still learning her way around. She had a big, compassionate heart, which served her in good stead, especially in a very gray ethical dilemma that clarified what it meant to be an elder. It involved Irma Vandersloot. Irma was a real humdinger in her day and remained so now in her feisty late 80s. She was in Hilda's elder district, so she would often pick up Irma from the retirement home and bring her to church and back again. Hilda and Irma first met when Hilda was passing the grape juice tray to her during communion one Sunday. She stumbled over a hymnal in the aisle, or maybe it was the 10-page worship folder, and spilled several communion cups, full communion cups, right on Irma's shiny white satin blouse and pristine pearl necklace. And before she could get her apology out, Irma offered a barnyard expletive loud enough for several rows to hear. She stared at Hilda with an icy cold look that could have wiped out a neighborhood. Irma worked for years in a big downtown bank after WW2, and she learned a great deal about big city life from the friends she made at work. She learned to smoke at the local Christian high school, but learned about cocktails at work after she graduated, enough so that she could have rivaled the best bartender in one of those classy downtown hotel lounges. So on a ride home from church with Hilda several months after the notorious grape juice incident, she asked Hilda to pull over at the Slick and Quick carry-out liquor store. She was low on scotch and needed to be restocked. And she felt Hilda owed her one. Well, Hilda's mind raced back to the elder's charge in the church order, and the elder's handbook, and the elder's orientation, and quickly came back emptier than Irma's liquor cabinet, which was a clandestine dresser drawer in her retirement home apartment. What's an elder to do, she wondered. It wasn't exactly buying booze for a minor, after all, but she felt complicit in some form of illegal activity, like aiding and abetting senior citizen licentiousness. What if she shouldn't be drinking at all because of her health? What if she should be drinking for her health? What if she gets caught in the retirement home and implicates her? Is this a case of ecclesiastical don't ask, don't tell? Was she trying to get her in trouble because she spilled the wine on her? That never would have happened, of course, with intinction. Well, Hilda bought the scotch, and it gave her a chance to again apologize for the catastrophic spill. And it earned her the trust to usher Irma in her last days right into glory. Nothing in seminary would have helped Pastor Nelson give advice to Hilda, but the way it worked out sounded like grace to him and the rest of the elders. Arvid Nelson never learned about intinction in seminary either, by the way. He was not familiar with it and learned of it when one of the church musicians went off to one of those fancy seminars and came back with the idea, which the elders thought was a good one. It was not without its problems, however. At first, Nelson felt as if he were an air traffic controller, explaining how to the congregation how to come to the front and return to their seats gracefully. He would wave his arms in a wide circular motion. He would point in directions of the proper flow, and then watch the congregation come forward in such chaos that it looked like a roller derby match down both aisles. Some people went to 2 of the 3 stations. One member of the congregation was so disoriented that he took the bread, ate it, and when he came to the cup without any bread to dip, dipped his pinky into the cup instead. Right up to the second knuckle. He licked the wine right there. He was so embarrassed that he walked down the aisle and right to his car. From then on, the children of the church refer to him unkindly as the Big Dipper. Weddings and funerals were never explored in depth at seminary either, but Nelson sensed very early on that these big life events carry great meaning and importance in ministry. He officiated at destination weddings in Jamaica, in the Bahamas, and several other islands, Blue and Rock. He married them young, middle-aged, and a variety of ARP categories. One recent older couple he described in his homily as having their oars in the water longer than most. Which was a nice warm touch and caused the couple in the congregation to laugh. He'd officiated with priests and rabbis, something he never thought about in seminary, but it was the time he co-officiated with a woman pastor who suggested that after the vows were spoken, and while the congregation sang a hymn, the newly married couple could celebrate a semi-private communion with her and Pastor Nelson. So the 4 of them stood together each pastor holding a loaf of bread purchased earlier that day by the mother of the bride at a local Mexican bakery in Pilsen. And as they broke the little loaves, Arvid struggled. The soft loaf offered some resistance at the center. It seemed stuck, fresh on the outside, but it was stuck in the middle. And with one hearty twist, he saw the problem as the small hot dog tucked underneath inside split in two. The woman pastor offered a gasp and a slightly salty comment without thinking that her mic was hot. Well, Nelson never looked at a pig in a blanket the same way again. He also never agreed to private wedding communion parties. Made him feel as if he was in an episode of The Bachelor. As for funerals, again very lightly touched on in seminary, he noticed that these gatherings tended to bring out the best and worst in families. They were either a time of rich blessing along with the mourning or an occasion to resurrect old family wounds and grudges. His favorite funeral memory, however, showcased a different kind of family. Eddie Moki worked for one of the members of our congregation, Wendell Tucker, an older, kindly man who ran a large garbage company. Eddie was hired by Wendell out of compassion because he wasn't very bright through no fault of his own. So he cleaned the offices and swept floors and gathered the trash that would blow off the trucks as they came back to the garage at night. Eddie also seemed to be alone in the world. He never spoke of family and didn't think of the woman who moved in with him as his wife. He never sensed that she moved in to take advantage of him, but she would sweet talk Eddie into shoplifting fancy nightgowns and underwear from the department store in the mall. She spent his paychecks, so he twice faced evictions from the small, dumpy apartment building they lived in. And Wendell Tucker was a familiar face at the local jail where he'd post bail for Eddie and a frequent visitor in the courtrooms explaining Eddie to the judges. So when Eddie died, Mr. Tucker asked Arvid to conduct the funeral. And Arvid was honored by their invitation and a chance to spend some time with Wendell Tucker. Eddie wasn't a man of faith as far as anyone knew. You might catch him whistling what sounded like a hymn tune on occasion, maybe from his distant childhood, but church seemed like a very intimidating place to Eddie. It didn't matter to Wendell or Arvid, however, and Arvid anticipated that the graveside ceremony would be a small gathering, and Wendell wondered if Eddie's paramour would show up. Turns out the only ones to attend the burial were members of Wendell's family who knew Eddie through the years and through the stories. And Arvid had just about finished the ceremony when Wendell asked him to stop without explaining why. And he went back to his car and out of Arvid's sight brought a walkie-talkie to his mouth. And by the time Mr. Tucker returned to the graveside, the parade had begun. A dozen freshly washed garbage trucks drove in single file down the narrow cemetery road, blasting their air horns in unison, out tooting even Gabriel. They stopped behind the hearse, and when the drivers got out and walked toward the graveside, they wore freshly laundered uniforms and each carried a dozen roses, which they laid on the casket as it was lowered. And while he'd never sung in the church choir and most often struggled to carry a tune, Wendell softly sang the words of Jesus Loves Me because he'd learned to sing the resurrection. To his amazement, a handful of the drivers joined the chorus. There they all were, a great cloud of witnesses acting out one of the best sermons Arvid had ever observed. For Arvid and Wendell, it was one of the strongest and finest examples of the universe tilting in the right direction, because God points the way and keeps his word. And Arvid thought this was something he had heard about in seminary. Grace finds its way irresistibly, unexpectedly, and often unusually, where you'd least imagine it, perhaps. and the stuff of memories at anniversaries. Because when it comes down to it, pastoring is about people. And while the gathering on Sunday fuels the fire through liturgy and sacrament and word and music, it's where the church shows up the rest of the week that finally makes the difference. Well, that's the news from Oak Forest. Where at Hopeful Reformed Christian Church, the women are bright, the men are sensitive, all the children are above average, and they eat their broccoli. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Well, this Prairie Hope Companion tonight was brought to you by Ecclesiastical Twister, the new version of the classic game designed for church council retreats. When life has you in knots, loosen up with Ecclesiastical Twister, now available in liturgically appropriate colors. And by Ketchup, made with real endorphins to calm down even the most emotionally tense family holiday party. Ketchup in the dull red bottle. The opinions expressed on Prairie Hope Companion are not necessarily those of the Christian Reformed denomination, Class of Chicago South, Hopeful Church, the City of Oak Forest, or really anyone at all. Any resemblance to persons living or dead is either a remarkable coincidence or a delusional fantasy. And now I want to invite the entire cast, except for the choir. There's not enough room anymore up there for choir. The entire cast on stage and thank them with you. If you were part of the production tonight, come on up. You still got your sign on. You got to come up. Come on up. And as they come to the front, let's hear it again for the quilters. And how about the Hope Choir led by the Double Bars? Yeah. The Friesen Twins. Let's hear it for them. Take a bow. Prairie Hope would be nothing if not hospitable or without a sketch involving Pastor Noir. English Teacher Ensemble, take a bow. And a special round of applause for Bill Borman Cornell, who has written reams of material for this show over the years. And while we're at it, Francis and Bill, take a bow for your wonderful recital. And Dick DeYoung, you've aged very well on your way to being a curmudgeon. Thanks for taking Miston Christian Reformed out of the mothballs. Dave and Ann Vanderweel, Russ and Lynn Hollander will never look at a ketchup bottle or floral delivery the same way after tonight. Thank you. Dan Quist and Sally Larson, a broadcasting career awaits you. Fox and Friends has some vacancies. Thanks for your silky newscast delivery. For those who took part in the knee and hip replacement chorus, I'll see you at the urgent care facility later tonight. Thanks for the effort. And Dan and Dora Deephouse, what can I say? You know, if your retirement funds ever run low, you could be street performers. Just let us know where you're performing. We'll be there. Sometime in 2007, Corinna Vanderweel Rosenboom and former member Doug Hoekstra had the nerve and vision to think that Hope CRC could pull off a program like this. We've never been the same since. So let's thank you, Doug and Corinna. And Josie Boswell deserves a hand for guiding this ship as stage manager and resident theater critic. And let's hear it for Skylar Rosenboom and nephew Sam Vanderweel as the masters of the sound booth and the mobile microphones. So it's time for a Broadway-style bow. Cast, join hands, and following my lead. Take a deep bow, but don't hurt yourself. Finally, we would like to thank our thoughtful, funny, and Iron Man Pastor Raj Nelson for laughing along with us. We're grateful for your many gifts to this congregation, not the least of which is your self-deprecating humor. Glad you're willing to let us join you in the deprecating. Thanks so much, folks. We've had a lot of fun these past 6 hours and ever since 2008. No animals were harmed during the production of this show. Good night, Irene, and go in peace.
I hear that old piano from down the avenue.